Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss the 2001 version of Ocean's 11, starring George Clooney, Matt Damon, Andy Garcia, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, Don Cheadle, Casey Affleck, Scott Conn, Elliot Gould, and Bernie Mac, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Now I remember seeing this in the theaters and thinking I was bored with this movie, but what did I think of it years later? Let's talk about it. The movie opens with a nice introduction of Danny Ocean, played by George Clooney, explaining why he got arrested and he gets out of prison. And I like George Clooney's take on Danny Ocean. A lot better than Frank Sinatra, I must admit. Clooney has charisma, where Sinatra lacks on it. Danny goes to a casino and we get introduced to Frank, played by Bernie Mac, which I miss that guy as an entertainer. I know he's dead these days, but he makes the movie bright, in my opinion. Rusty, played by Brad Pitt, is the leader of a game when we get introduced to him playing poker with Topher Grace, playing Eric Foreman, or himself, playing poker. And I like Topher Grace despite he ruined Spider-Man 3. And I like Rusty, and I like Brad Pitt in the movies, and I've seen him on like Fight Club, Benjamin Button, and my personal favorite, I hope to get there one day, The Inglourious Basterds. And I think he pulls any role off very well, including Fury, the one with the tanks. Danny thinks about robbing 3 casinos owned by Terry Benedict, played by Andy Garcia, who's dating Danny's ex-wife, Tess, played by Julia Roberts. And I really like that plan. Even though Andy Garcia's character is supposed to be a prick, excuse my French, I like Andy Garcia's, despite myself not liking Godfather Part 3, which I watched recently. Julia Roberts always bugged the crap out of me in movies. And I'm not a fan of Julia Roberts in general. I'm sorry for those of you that are fans of hers. I'm not the biggest fan. Danny and Rusty start hiring 9 others for the job, with him and Danny, including Ruben, played by Elliot Gould, Virgil and Turk Malloy, played by Casey Affleck and Scott Conn, Frank, as I brought up Bernie Mac earlier, Livingston Dell, played by Eddie Jemison, Basher, Tar, played by Don Cheadle, Yen, played by Shaobu Keen, forgive me if I said that wrong, Saul Bloom, played by Carl Reiner, and Linus Caldwell, played by Matt Damon. And guess what? I love them all together, pulling off a dangerously good heist. Ruben is a very fun character to watch. I always enjoyed Casey Affleck in movies like Gone Baby Gone and his Oscar-winning performance in Manchester by the Sea. And I honestly have no impressions of Scott Conn except he's good here and has the same name as me. What do you know? And I've reviewed Eddie Jemison before in the 2004 Punisher movie, and I like him there, and I like him here as well. Don Cheadle I enjoyed, and I said my piece on him in the Avengers. I enjoyed watching Yen, because he's very impressive. Carl Reiner, who's Rob Reiner's father, I have respect for him and his character, and I love Matt Damon in movies. And I say his name in Team America style, like, Matt Damon. And I think he's funny when he makes fun of Jimmy Kimmel, because I hate Jimmy Kimmel in general. But I enjoy Matt Damon's movies. Danny tries to make Tess take him back, and the dinner table scene between Danny and Tess, while Tess is waiting for Terry Benedict, nobody understands they're divorced, in case nobody got that in the first round. And Tess is seeing Terry, and that was a little too obvious that Danny wants Tess back, and a little divorcee cliche. Get it? I just made a rhyming there. Rusty calls Danny out that he's doing this job to get Tess back and put her before his guys, or his goon friends, or whatever, and he gets himself captured by Benedict's goons later in the film. Felt like any romantic comedy starring Julia Roberts in the 1990s. Linus, disguised as another man, interrogates Frank as another person was rather amusing as an amusing plan, and the and they do a good job, and good job to Virgil and Turk for delivering a disguised box filled with yen. And I mean a person named Yen, who's with the Ocean's 11. And I also like that a big guy who knows Danny meanwhile Benedict is distracted by the fight and Saul pretending to be a mafia boss is having some fake out heart attack. And I really like their plan to distract and steal Benedict's money. And his money as well. It was a lot of fun and I can follow it unlike last week's movie. Danny and Linus with Yen steal Benedict's money. Terry tries to get Rusty and all of the Ocean's 11 put in jail. And Terry beats up Danny and gets rid of Tess as his girlfriend by words he says to Danny. And Danny gets arrested and thrown in jail for about 3 to 6 months later. And Tess and Danny get back together as a couple, which again felt like a romantic comedy starring Julia Roberts in 1990s in the general. But it was a satisfying ending to a satisfying heist movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 7.8 out of 10. For a heist movie, I can follow the plot better than last week's movie, and it felt very satisfying, and I liked the cast together in this movie, including Matt Damon. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this movie. But we'll see how Oceans 12 and 13 go in the next couple of weeks before leading up to Oceans 8. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and I will be back next week with Oceans 12. And until next time, good luck in Vegas.